building you see right there might not be here in about 1, 2, or 3 years. A lot of changes going on. A lot of changes.
This building, it has a great history of community service. It was founded that way in 1874. It was originally called Germania Hall, and it was a block-through building that was a settlement house for German immigrants. The buildings that you see in front of you were built in 1921, and this chapel was built in 1922. It was always a community-oriented building, and this goes across complete ethnic boundaries, whether you're Ukrainian, Puerto Rican, Black. People from around this neighborhood remember this building with deep affection.
Everybody was of equal importance, no matter what their race or religion was.
We had Italian kids, some Polish, some German. There was a synagogue around here that used the chapel every year for Passover service. And they also, when I first came, they had Sunday morning services in Polish, Chinese, American, Russian.
This is the first week of play school. We would go through this long hall and go into the gymnasium.
These basketball hoops have been here since the 40s. This has been, or let me put it this way, was a vibrant center, and it was the largest center of community activity in the Lower East Side.
喺你面前係祭師傅，係美國紐約道教媽祖廟嘅主持，又係美國紅佛派創辦人，又係錄音神功創辦人。Our existence here in this building as a group has been since 1986. Holding classes, chiefly in Southern Shaolin, Hong Fat Kung Fu, traditional that is, and also holding worshiping services for the various Taoist deities and Buddhas. The lessors of this building, of which we are a subtenant of, decided not to do any maintenance on the building since they knew it was slated for demolition. Back when I first came in here in 1986, this building was full of different organizations. It was thriving for quite some time. Years later, the building has become greatly deteriorated, And besides that, the city has sold it to a private developer. And now the demolition is quite imminent. Of course, you'll notice if you go through this entire building that the only space that has anything maintained to it is this space. You look through the rest of the building, it looks like hell because, well, that's not the space which I'm occupying, so I can't be responsible for the entire building.
Seafood saved my life.
Met my wife here. We have 2 children. Kung Fu and Sifu in particular have always been sort of the focus of my life.
What I value most about Sifu's leadership is that he's open to all takers. If you talk to people in the school, you'll find that every single person, every single one of us has been saved here one way or another. While it may look like just a big old abandoned building no one cares about, people in this neighborhood know how important it is.
Every race, color, and religion came through these doors, and it bettered their lives in all ways. In all ways. When I was married in 1966, I left my parents' home going through the front doors at 9 Second Avenue. I lived at the Church of All Nations from 1942 to 1966, a lifetime. My father worked as assistant director there. There were apartments on the 3rd floor. We had one of the apartments. 3 of us lived there, my mom, my dad, and myself.
Roy Rogers, Joe Julia, Gloria, and myself.
He said he would donate a room, and Miss Burdick and my dad said, it'll be the Roy Rogers room. Oh my God.
Roy Rogers.
Oh my God. That's Rocky Graziano.
Rocky Graziano.
Sugar Ray Robinson. Sugar Ray at one of the yearly big functions. This was for the kids, and they actually boxed and were given trophies after it was over, and few of the famous boxers of the time were down there, and they would make their guest appearances. The gym floors, you better have had sneakers on or socks, no shoes. Before we went into the pool, you showered, that you had to make sure you were clean.
I learned how to swim in there.
Well, we all learned how to swim there.
They taught us how to swim.
You had to be clean or you didn't get in the pool.
Olympic-sized pool.
Mm-hmm.
Back in the late 60s and the early 70s, when I was a little kid, I used to come down in here and swim. There's a swimming pool down in here, in the basement. And this is a part of the building that they intend to destroy as well. Government funding ran out in the mid-70s sometime, and somehow or another this organization known as CUANDO ended up getting the lease to this building. The entire building, $87 a month. Figure that one out. So they racked and then they just didn't do any maintenance and let it go to hell. What a waste. What a waste. They were successful at kicking out every other group that's been in this building except me and mine. Oh, let's take a shot at the chapel while we're here. There are 36 religions in heaven and 72 earth, all with their spirituality and all with their authority. So, I mean, this was a chapel. I think that's supposed to be Mary in the window there. My temple is known as Majumil, which is temple of the Ancestral Mother. The Sacred Mother. So, hey, it's almost the same thing. Hey, could be the same thing. Reincarnation and all that, you know.
In 1970s, the New York City Council reclaims this property for urban renovation. And since then, we moved to here. We might lose this one too. That happens with churches of all nations. It's a lesson to all of us that are trying to care about our neighbors. It shows us that we are going to different directions, and a more materialistic society is turning more superficial. As a Methodist, I am ecumenical. That means that respect other traditions. I think that every religion is a way to reach God, and we should respect each way.
Mazhou Mill. That's the name of the temple. Mazhou is known as the Ancestral Mother, also known as the Queen of Heaven, and the Sea Goddess. In fact, the first Taoist temple ever built in America was built in San Francisco in the 1800s. And it was a Mazhou Mill. You can't just get rid of us just like that. I think it'd be technically easier to get rid of squatters than it would be to get rid of a church, which we technically are. When they demolish this and they build this, it's going to be, the new building is going to be 600 some odd units of new housing. This is going to be a new community at that point. So we intend to grow with the old and the new community simultaneously. And we'd like to do that as smoothly as possible, and we actually don't see any real reason why we should not be allowed to do so.
Basically, we were both squatters one way or another in the very beginning. They were squatting in the building, we were squatting in the garden. This is the green wall right now, yes. In the summer, there are hundreds and hundreds of birds nesting along this wall. You can hear them now in the background. And we've had woodpeckers here, we've had all sorts of birds coming into the garden. Yes, I've been in this garden since 1973. When it first started, it was full of rubble, garbage, trash. Almost 6 feet of trash were here when we first came over and decided to try and make it into a community garden. We removed all the trash, that took a couple of months. Then we dug down several feet to get rid of the soil, which was full of needles, glass, garbage, rocks, and we started importing topsoil. We worked with the local police department. They gave us horse manure, we put that into the soil, and I've been here ever since. This is what it looked like after about a year when we got rid of a lot of the garbage, a lot of the trash. Originally the trash went up to the top of the fence, and this is about 2 years into it. This is Liz Christie enjoying the garden. Before the garden was here, people didn't want to cross Broadway. People were getting shot on the corners, they were drug dealers. People actually died in this garden, before we made it into a garden. It was full of junk. About a year before we took it over as a garden, 2 homeless people died of a drug overdose in the garden. Well, it wasn't the garden, it was just a big vacant lot.
Burn stuff like this, it's all to be used on another dimension. Because you don't only want to appease the deities, you want to appease the ghosts too. So you have hungry ghosts wandering around all over the place. The ghosts have to deal with the middlemen too. They have to deal with the heavenly officials. But ghosts are just like people. You help them out, they'll help you out. Generally.
focus of this month of art was response to the World Trade Center, and also to bring community attention to the importance of this building as an arts and community facility, how beautiful the facility is, how incredibly important it is. And now this HPD came in with fire marshals. There's a few violations, but they're saying we don't have the right certificate of occupancy. We don't have an occupancy for an art gallery. Instead, you know, they want to close this down because they want to sell the property to a real estate developer, Avalon Bay. So that's what's going on.
See, the city wants to empty this building because they want to rip it down. Now there's a warrant of eviction on this, but we have a stay. The reason we have the stay is because of the temple. I didn't want to say it, but you know, because they were never named in the lawsuit. So because of that, we've managed to eke out. I went into court in July, and we got a stay.
February 5th, there will be another court date for the CUANDO organization. And if they lose that case, the marshals could come in here 6 days after that and seal up the joint. So therefore, I'd like to have everything shifted from the space we're currently in into the chapel.
Here we're on the Lower East Side. If you want to boil some water, you have to start a fire. It is the cemetery god's birthday. Earlier today, liquor and fruit were already offered for the above and the below. Those ghosts get hungry too. Offering of some kind of hot food is traditional and suitable.
once. I was laying in the bed, and they used a battering ram, smashed in the door, my bedroom door, that is, and threw me out on the street, literally. It was just a very harsh thing. Screw the whole project. We don't need no freaking open new around here. Let it be the way it is. You know what I mean? This is the Lower East Side. This is the East Village. We don't need urban renewal. What do we need urban renewal for? We don't need urban renewal. For what? What the hell is that? What? New is better? What? Everything has to be demolished and built skyscrapers? New is better? No, I don't freaking think so.
As I look to the sky and see a dove, or in this case, a pigeon, I don't care whatever your religion is, but in that building was gatherings of different peoples, different cultures. There's fractions of tranquility within that ill existence, persistence needed. We all gotta speak now, act now, before the city's defeated. Mother. 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 It's space, it was space, and there's this rat race for space. So it's quite a paradox. So that's why this building is so important to me, because it's like a metaphor for the reason why I met her for. Her meaning New York. I met New York because she, it, he, whatever you want to call it, was a space, a place for me, us, they, you, them, came, come, through to, and then explore, shape, shift, you know? But New York City is becoming more and more and more condensed, and unfortunately in the process, I feel like lost.
Certainly being a wandering Taoist, there's a certain amount of suffering involved with that, because you can never be guaranteed where my head is going to be sleeping from one day to the next. One of the axioms of Taoism, as well as another, such as Buddhism, is non-attachment. So, when it's time to go, you go with the flow.
All this talk about the 21st century and all this heavy dipping into the 19th with a cruel, cavalier attitude. I remember when those black and white limousines started slowly sleeking down my city streets with the license plates that said We have it, and you don't. And the tinted windows, so that I couldn't see you, but I see you, like some domesticated animal who's either afraid, unaware, or unable to return to its original habitat. As you know, we are the only living creatures that do pay rent. So someday we're gonna kick that habit, you know. I think get a studio for $3,000 a month, you know? And you have 16 people there sharing it, you know? So who's sleeping in the bathtub tonight? I am, it's my turn. Oh, good, I don't have to sleep there for like 14 days now.
The very fact that the neighborhood has so many authentic sort of New York things about it, there's some of the old retail establishment, just the physical form of the neighborhood, I think that's actually what appeals to people. They like it. It feels like a neighborhood.
11 places have closed down that was on my route for the last 20 years. Zito's Bakery, right? Frankie Zito was there for like 70 years. Canal Hardware was there for 50 years, closed down. Abe's Coffee Shop, closed down. Village Garden Vegetable on Bleecker Street, closed down. And there's 11 other places closed down.
You know, now all the little health food stores are closing down. You're gonna have the Whole Foods. What makes it New York is its individuality, that each block has its own, has something that you can only find in this neighborhood. That's what makes New York, New York. LES has things that you can't find anywhere else, but if it's all the same chains, it's not, where we at, you know? If it's all the same complex, you know, it becomes so uniform and it loses its flavor. You wanna give me a beat? Baba and Steve as we breathe the air of the LES, relieve the stress, connecting when I start to express allergies. Well, I'm allergic to the buildings, the gentrification, I'm allergic to this whole situation. Buildings falling, memories are lost, community centers are forced out, they start to break down, destruction, abduction of creative soul. Watch out, the LES is about to transform the whole, but still we have the Bowery Poetry Club. CBGB's about to go, wherever the rock is gonna come and flow. It's all changing, rearranging different stages. I start to look it and it makes me feel outrageous, the rages as I start to tear away the pages of my journal. Infernal thoughts, people in bars drinking in their minds, drinking Lincoln. I want to have a drink, but I want to also have the expressiveness, artistry of this LES place where I was raised as an artist to be me and be unique as we speak. But still we're here under the trees. At least there's a few community gardens left. I hope they don't steal the trees so I don't lose my breath as I start to see the death of an era. It leaves me consumed with terror, but still we react, and every now and then I visit the LES to remember where I'm at. But now I live in the Bronx, a new location on the map, so I can stay away from all of that. We mourn the loss of a building, the ceiling is falling, we're calling, we're singing no more, but yet we're here trapped in this money war, economic, atomic, bionic life forms as we do it. Yes, but it's still a beautiful day. I hear the birds in the sun as the cabs go by. LES.
It was such a sturdy building.
what is permanent? The only thing that's permanent is impermanence. That is the unavoidable thing for everything in the universe, impermanence. You learn everything for the purpose of forgetting it. So that's how you go to full circle. You know, it's like full circle means that you're born, you know nothing. You learn stuff, you just let it sink in, it becomes second nature. Once it becomes second nature, you don't have to think about it. Back to the beginning, nothing.